I landed on your soil, I said to the people of the Philippines whence I came, I shall return.
I shall return. 3 words that defined a man. Douglas MacArthur, 5-star general, American icon, military genius. The man who ruled Japan after World War II. The general who challenged a president and lost. For decades, America saw him as a hero, a legend, larger than life. But Douglas MacArthur wasn't self-made. He was engineered, by genetics, by family ambition, and by a mother who wouldn't let him fail. Welcome to Famous Roots. Today we're conducting a DNA audit on Douglas MacArthur, and what we found explains everything: the brilliance, the ego, and why he became the most controversial general in American history. If you're fascinated by the hidden bloodlines behind American legends, subscribe to Famous Roots right now. Hit that bell. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. The MacArthur story begins not in America, but in the Scottish Highlands. Clan MacArthur, an ancient warrior clan from Argyll, Scotland. The name itself means son of Arthur, linking back to Celtic warrior traditions from the 1200s. These weren't nobles. These were fighters, clan warriors who survived centuries of English invasion, Highland clearances, and clan warfare. Violence wasn't just their profession, it was their DNA. In the 1820s and 40s, the MacArthur family fled Scotland, not for opportunity, for survival. The Highland clearances destroyed their way of life. They arrived in Massachusetts as poor immigrants, carrying nothing but Scottish pride and a warrior tradition. Douglas's grandfather, Arthur MacArthur Sr., settled in Massachusetts and became a lawyer and judge. But his son, Arthur Jr., born 1845, carried something his father tried to bury: the clan warrior instinct. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, 16-year-old Arthur MacArthur Jr. lied about his age and enlisted in the Union Army. Within 2 years, he was a colonel, the youngest in the entire Union Army. November 18, he's 63. Battle of Missionary Ridge, Tennessee. Confederate forces hold the high ground. Arthur MacArthur, age 18, grabs the regiment's flag and charges up the hill, screaming, "On Wisconsin!" His men follow. They take the ridge. Arthur wins the Medal of Honor. The Scottish warrior DNA had found its purpose. Arthur MacArthur would rise to lieutenant general, one of the highest-ranking officers in the U.S. Army, and he would pass that warrior bloodline to his son. But Douglas MacArthur's DNA wasn't just Scottish warrior. His mother, Mary Pinckney Hardy, came from a completely different world: Virginia plantation aristocracy. The Hardy family were English and Scots-Irish planters who'd been in Virginia since the 1600s. They owned land. They owned slaves. They were Southern gentry, the kind of family that believed they were born to rule. When the Civil War came, Mary's brothers fought for the Confederacy, while her future husband fought for the Union. The Hardys lost everything: their plantation, their slaves, their wealth. Mary grew up in the wreckage of the Old South, bitter about Reconstruction and desperate to reclaim lost status. In 1875, Mary Hardy married Arthur MacArthur, a Union war hero marrying a Confederate sympathizer's daughter. It was a merger of two Americas. Northern military ambition meets Southern aristocratic pride. Think about this genetically. Arthur brought Scottish clan warrior DNA, generations of fighters bred for combat. Mary brought Southern plantation DNA, generations of people bred to command, to expect deference, to believe they were superior. Their son Douglas born January 1880, inherited both bloodlines. Scottish aggression, Southern entitlement. A genetic combination that would make him either a great general or a tyrant. Or both. But genetics alone don't explain Douglas MacArthur. His mother, Mary, called Pinky, was the architect of his ambition. Douglas had two brothers. Malcolm died at age 5 from measles. Arthur III survived but lived in Douglas's shadow. Mary decided Douglas would be the one, the son who would restore the family's greatness. When Douglas entered West Point in 1899, Mary moved to a hotel overlooking the campus. For 4 years, she watched him through a telescope. Every day, making sure he studied, making sure he excelled, making sure he never forgot what he owed her. Douglas graduated first in his class. 98.4 GPA, one of the highest in West Point history. But it wasn't just talent. It was his mother's relentless, suffocating ambition drilled into him every single day. And Mary never let go. She lived with Douglas through his early military career. She lived with him during World War I. She lived with him when he became superintendent of West Point. She didn't die until 1935, when Douglas was 54 years old. This wasn't normal. This was pathological. Mary MacArthur created Douglas's ego, his need to be seen as great, his inability to accept criticism. She took his Scottish warrior DNA and Southern aristocratic DNA and weaponized them. World War I proved that Douglas MacArthur had inherited his father's warrior instincts. He commanded the Rainbow Division in France. He led from the front. He refused to wear a helmet or carry a gas mask. Said it showed weakness. He was wounded twice. Gassed once. Awarded 7 Silver Stars, 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, and the Distinguished Service Medal. He was fearless. Some said reckless. His men loved him. His superior officers thought he was insane. By 1918, at age 38, he was a brigadier general, one of the youngest in the army. The Scottish warrior DNA was undeniable. But so was the Southern aristocratic ego. In the 1930s, MacArthur became Army Chief of Staff, the highest position in the U.S. military. But he wasn't just a general. He behaved like royalty. Fancy uniforms, theatrical speeches, absolute certainty in his own genius. That was the Southern plantation aristocracy talking. Generations of people who believed they were born to rule. December 1941, Japan attacks the Philippines. MacArthur, commanding U.S. forces, is forced to evacuate. As he leaves Corregidor Island, he makes a promise. I shall return. October 1944. MacArthur wades ashore at Leyte, Philippines, cameras rolling. I have returned, he announces. It's brilliant propaganda. It's also pure ego. MacArthur didn't just want to win. He wanted to be seen winning. September 2nd, 1945. Aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, Douglas MacArthur accepts Japan's surrender. He's not just representing America. In his mind, he is America. The Scottish warrior clan chief, the Southern plantation master, all wrapped in 5-star general's uniform. For the next 6 years, MacArthur rules Japan. Not governs, rules. He rewrites their constitution, dismantles their military, transforms their society. He's brilliant. He's also behaving like a conqueror king, exactly what his DNA trained him to be. June 1950. North Korea invades South Korea. President Truman orders MacArthur to command UN forces. MacArthur is 70 years old. But the warrior DNA doesn't retire. September 1950. MacArthur executes the Incheon landing, one of the most brilliant military operations in history. He lands troops behind enemy lines, cuts off the North Korean army, and saves South Korea. Genius. Pure tactical genius inherited from generations of Scottish warriors. But then the ego takes over. MacArthur pushes north, toward the Chinese border. China warns him to stop. MacArthur ignores them. He believes he's invincible. That's the Southern aristocratic DNA, the belief that he's superior, that rules don't apply to him. November 1950. 300,000 Chinese troops pour into Korea. MacArthur's forces are overrun. It's a disaster. But MacArthur won't admit error. Instead, he publicly demands to attack China, even suggests using nuclear weapons. April 11, 1951. President Harry Truman fires Douglas MacArthur for insubordination, for publicly challenging civilian authority, for believing he was bigger than the Constitution. MacArthur returns to America and addresses Congress. "Old soldiers never die," he says. "They just fade away." It's theatrical. It's moving. It's pure Southern aristocratic drama. But it's over. The warrior DNA that made him great also destroyed him, because it came with ego that wouldn't bow to anyone. So what was Douglas MacArthur? Scottish warrior clan DNA gave him courage, tactical brilliance, and fearlessness. Southern plantation aristocracy, DNA, gave him confidence, command presence, and an unshakable belief in his own superiority. But his mother amplified both. She took his genetic inheritance and forged it into a weapon. She created his ambition. She created his ego. She created his need to be seen as great. MacArthur was a brilliant general and an impossible egomaniac, a liberator of the Philippines and a wannabe dictator in Korea. A military genius and a man who believed rules didn't apply to him. His DNA made him great. His DNA also made him unbearable. He lived to 84, longer than almost any general of his era. The warrior DNA kept him alive, but the ego DNA made sure he never found peace. Douglas MacArthur spent his final years fading away, exactly as he'd predicted. The warrior with no more wars to fight. 3 generations. Scottish immigrants became American generals. But each generation paid a price. Arthur Jr. won the Medal of Honor but died suddenly at 67. Douglas became a legend, but was fired in disgrace. Douglas MacArthur's DNA gave him everything he needed to be great, and everything that made him impossible. Scottish warrior courage. Southern aristocratic pride. A mother's relentless ambition. You can't separate the genius from the ego. They came from the same bloodline. "I shall return," he said. And he did. But he couldn't escape what he was. A man bred for war, raised for glory, and destroyed by the belief that he was destined for both. If this DNA investigation fascinated you, subscribe to Famous Roots for more ancestry audits on American legends. Thanks for watching. And remember, your bloodline writes your beginning, but your choices write your legacy.